I'm Staff Sergeant Josh Hauser. In the news, the Defense Department announced Monday that Iraq and Afghanistan have been designated as non-chargeable rest and recuperation locations. This authorizes service members deployed there for 270 days or more, 15 days of administrative absence, to be used in conjunction with benefits provided under the R&R Leave program. Sam Rutherford, Director of Officer and Enlisted Personnel Management, says this can help ease the strain of deployments on junior service members.
The Army identified an issue with junior soldiers going into the theater with very little leave accrued. They took their R&R, used their leave, and then when they redeployed, they actually had negative leave balances. So this program was aimed at the junior soldier, junior service member, who doesn't have a lot of R&R.
Now, administrative absence days are contingent upon mission requirements and are only authorized for those service members who participate in the non-chargeable rest and recuperation program. The new rules will not be applied retroactively. We'll have much more on this change in policy on Tuesday's edition of Around the Services. Defense Secretary Robert Gates is assuring service members and their dependents that health care legislation passed by Congress Sunday will not negatively affect TRICARE medical insurance. Secretary Gates issued a statement following last night's health care vote, saying the TRICARE program already meets the new bill's quality and minimum benefit standards. He said the President and Defense Department are committed to ensuring U.S. troops, retirees, and their families continue to get the best quality health care. Also, Secretary Gates welcomed his Canadian counterpart to the Pentagon Tuesday to discuss U.S.-Canadian relations. Petty Officer Elliot Fabrizio has more from our Pentagon Bureau.
Secretary of Defense Robert Gates met with Canada's Prime Minister of National Defense Peter MacKay Monday in the Pentagon to discuss strategy and combined operations. They spoke about the long working relationship between U.S. and Canadian forces and future operations in the Arctic, providing national defense through NORAD, and disaster relief efforts.
The bilateral security relationship between the U.S. and Canada is vitally important to both of us, and I look forward to continuing this dialogue in the future.
Minister MacKay said Canada will continue combat operations in Afghanistan in support of coalition efforts until mid-summer of 2011.
We're also putting a great deal of emphasis, along with the United States and other countries, on the training of Afghan forces, both police and Army, and we'll continue to do that. There has been a call from NATO for countries to particularly emphasize that aspect.
Reporting from the Pentagon, I'm Petty Officer Elliot Fabrizio.
Also, Secretary Gates will travel to Mexico Tuesday. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Admiral Mike Mullen, will join him for talks with Mexican leaders about escalating drug-related violence along the U.S.-Mexico border. Officials say the meetings in Mexico City will focus on the challenges that lie ahead in fighting the drug cartels and driving out traffickers. The trip comes after 3 Americans with ties to the U.S. consulate were killed last weekend in Juarez. Earlier last week, Texas Governor Rick Perry deployed National Guard helicopters and crews to support aviation missions along the Rio Grande River. The Obama administration has finished its first comprehensive review of ballistic missile strategy policy and capabilities. Deputy Secretary of Defense William Lynn said while Iran and North Korea remain significant threats, the most immediate concern for the U.S. is regional ballistic missile attacks.
That threat is growing both quantitatively and qualitatively. Systems that could someday be deployed against our forces are becoming more accurate and harder to defeat while attaining greater ranges.
The President's 2011 budget request includes $9.9 billion for missile defense, almost $700 million more than last year. And in Afghanistan, coalition and Afghan national security forces found and destroyed 3 roadside bombs in Kandahar province. Air Force Staff Sergeant Ali Rose has the details.
The bombs were placed along routes that locals and international forces used to resupply. Local villagers reported all 3 bombs to the ANSF, and they were destroyed with no injury to any civilians. An International Security Assistance Forces spokesperson said this is an example of the Afghan people starting to trust the ANSF and look for protection from them. Air Force Staff Sergeant Ali Rose, Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan.
Reports of sexual assault rose 11% in 2009. That statistic is from the newly released annual report from the DoD Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office. There were just over 2,900 reports in 2008, with more than 3,200 reported during 2009. The numbers also increased in Iraq and Afghanistan. During 2008, there were 165 reported assaults in theater, with 215 assaults reported in 2009.
We are really concerned about that because we should not have any sexual assaults in theater, and a sexual assault can destroy unit cohesion and affect the mission. So we are looking very closely at what is going on in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Those numbers include both the victims and alleged perpetrators. They also include civilians. The SAPRO office says the increase is likely due to increased reporting rather than an increase of incidents. The Defense Department is working with the U.S. Census Bureau to ensure military personnel are counted in the 2010 census. Service members and their families, whether stationed at home or abroad, must be counted for their proper place of residence. The director of the Defense Manpower and Data Center, Mary Dixon, says it's important to make sure states and the federal government are allocating funds to communities where military bases are located. It's so that they can properly support military members. The Constitution mandates that the government take a census of U.S. residents every 10 years. All residents, regardless of citizenship or legal status, are required to comply with the census. And for the latest military news, signature programming, and more, head online to PentagonChannel.mil. I'm Staff Sergeant Josh Hauser with your Pentagon Channel News Update.